Hello, Fiona.
IT.
Do you have a slightly different mug with you today?
I do. I don't have a mug at all. I have one of these.
Excellent. Yes, so we're on to another coffee break, and it's my turn to quiz you. Mm.
Yes.
So, I was looking in our book, Teaching Teenagers, and I wanted to think about this. So you talked about kind of 10 good practices when teaching teens. That was what we looked at in the introduction. And the second one was the safe, rich learning environment. So I thought today we could perhaps, or you could perhaps share some tips on how you create this safe, rich learning environment.
If anybody's watching this, just say that these coffee breaks, we do not warn each other what we're going to ask. So I'm now sitting here going, yeah, okay. I mean, it's difficult to put things into words when it's what you kind of do automatically in class. So you've absorbed it into your regular practice.
I
So
mean,
we're going to do safe, we're going to do rich.
yeah, I mean, but I guess part of it is who teachers are as the people in the room.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it. It's about the teacher and who we are and our teacher persona, or almost lack of teacher persona, being
Ooh.
our authentic self, perhaps in the classroom. My students know more about me than my friends. I think I find it easier in a way to be,
Mhm.
well, not honest, but I'm not suggesting I lie to my friends, but open. Um, It's about the student, so it's about the teacher and who the teacher is, and it's about how the teacher treats the students. It's about the students themselves and how they treat each other, and therefore the culture that is created in the classroom. So things like always speaking L1, L1, L2,
RL1,
always
the
exactly.
classroom L1.
The target language, always speaking the target language, because everybody in the class has expectations and um, motivation and aims and whatever, and they want to achieve X, and therefore to support each other, they should speak the target language,
Mhm, mhm.
because then it's not just about their own aims, it's about supporting others to achieve theirs. But the teacher is responsible for finding a kind of a safe way, or creating an environment in which they feel safe and they can take risks,
Mhm.
make mistakes. Creating an environment where actually making mistakes is seen and treated as a positive and a stepping stone to learning.
Can
I
I
think,
interrupt you there? Because I think
yeah.
that's really interesting because of like the different cultures that we've worked with, how do you find or how accepting are your students of making mistakes when they first arrive? And then how do you develop that confidence in
Uh,
them to make mistakes?
um, So my students, obviously not all of them, but there is a tendency for them to have almost zero tolerance of mistakes. I think that's probably the biggest difference I've found between Spain and Japan in a generalized sense. All right, because obviously there are people in the room in Spain who do not want to make a mistake and will not speak until they feel that they can say exactly what they want to correctly. And there are Japanese students who are willing to just have a go because it'll also come from their own experiences back in their regular classrooms, with other teachers, and when they were younger or whatever. But as a sort of generalized thing, I think my students at the moment are less confident about speaking particularly, unless they feel that they've got all their ducks in a row before the words come out of their mouths. And that means the first 2 or 3 weeks of any given course can be very, very quiet. The short courses, some of the courses are only 1 or 2 weeks long. So there is a need for me in my context to try and get students into the zone of
Mhm.
speaking English within a week. Not easy, but you learn to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You just learn to do it. So mistakes, there has to be more encouragement. There has to be a lot of sitting, just giving them time and space to formulate instead of kind of going, no, okay, next person. Which is what happened to me at university. And the person who's my best friend now, she and I would sit in class trying to formulate what we wanted to say in Spanish. And we had one teacher in particular who would just go, no, okay, next. And we never got to speak.
Yeah, that waiting time.
Exactly. It's really, really important. Don't push it. Now, might be another student who's going, meh, just going, okay, yeah, yeah, come on, we're just going to give him time. And
Mhm.
then that supporting and it's got to feel safe. This is one of the reasons of safe. And also then you need to get the student who's going, "Me," to say, you need to give people space. You won't speak, but this person probably does as well.
Mhm.
So just give them a moment to work out what they want to say and then help as necessary. Um, it also affects the way that we correct things because mistakes, they need to be refocused as stepping stones rather than mistake. It's like, no, you didn't get it wrong. It's just you're on the way to getting it right.
Mhm.
What else is safe? So there's that. So there's the teacher, the student, there's mistakes. There's the community, the safeness. You've got to form a community in the class. Non-judgmental. You've got to be careful of the topics that you bring up because you don't want students to be feeling that they're obliged to share stuff that they don't want to share.
Mhm. And I think
We
that's
do,
true at any age, any level
yeah, yeah, it
as
really is.
well.
No, all ages, yeah. And in adults, almost more than teens,
Mhm.
I think. I think teenagers, um, after, so middle teens, will tend to have those 1 or 2 friends that they confide in and they can tell all their stuff and whatever, or a diary or whatever.
Mhm.
So in a sense, if there's a subject that uh, they don't want to share, you can ask them to journal and they'll actually, I've had this experience, particularly with boys actually, they're journaling and they start to tell you their stuff in
Mhm.
their journal. And if you are completely non-judgmental on it and just say, that's a great idea, or how about, or if you need any advice, then I'm here for you, or, but don't,
Mhm.
um, then they will handle, in a sense, that sense of vulnerability possibly better than adults. I think adults we're more likely to keep our stuff tightly locked inside. Not everybody, but so yeah, so avoiding it's difficult to avoid all sensitive topics, but framing topics in a way that people are not going to feel the need to expose certain things. So you could say, tell me about your family, and by the way, you can lie if you want to,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Describe a house, lie to me. Everybody, you can lie to me. And those who actually want to tell you about their real house, they can't, that kind of thing.
Mm.
What else? So safety, achievable stuff. So challenge, but not too much challenge. I can't remember if I said this in the book, but I do say it to my students that the stuff that we're going to do in class is not going to be super easy. But if it's too difficult, they should let me know because learning a language is like doing Sudokus. You buy a book of Sudokus, right? Generally speaking, unless you're a nutcase, you don't do the last one in the book first. But you don't do the first ones either, because the first ones are usually too easy. You kind of pitch in the middle. And it's that self-esteem thing as well, where I got a 4-star one, right? Or whatever it is. It's more motivating to get there. Not the easy stuff and not the too difficult. So we discuss this. I discuss all this stuff openly with my students. I think this is important as well. I discuss my approach or approaches with them at the beginning, and we negotiate the class rules together. And they tell me, they set rules for me. I think I've mentioned this before, particularly now in the world of AI.
Mhm.
And again, that fear gives them a sense of ownership of the classroom and of what's going to happen in the class. And that feeds into the feeling safe. It feels like a safe space.
A sense of
Knowing,
belonging as well, that they're part of that.
and knowing what to expect. Yeah, no odd surprises. We discuss, what kind of exams they're going to have to do. The fact that essays, we don't give them a grade, but that's the Oxford system. We do discuss them, but we don't really grade them. Um, I look at the essays and generally speaking, depends on the essay, but generally speaking, I have essays or stories or whatever they've written for me where I don't actually give individual marking, but I read them all and I look for trends and pull out. So again, they're not getting essays back that have a load of notes all over them, but then every second or third or whatever essay, I do give them individual or, in tutorials. Tutorials are good. If you don't have a tutorial in your schedule, it's not a bad idea to have a drop-in hour where you're just sitting having a coffee wherever you work and students can pop in and see you.
Mhm. Yeah. I think
Um,
that is one thing that I miss about the online classroom, is that ability really
mm,
to connect with them one to one. Like, yeah, you can say, okay, we're going to do a tutorial day and take them into breakout rooms individually, but it feels very formal. Whereas,
yeah,
if it was in a class, you might say, oh, Sam, can you stay after a second? I want to talk to you about X, but X is not what you really want to talk about, or something. It just gives you more opportunity to build those one-to-one relationships, I think.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have WhatsApp groups with my
Mhm.
students always. On the other hand, Instagram, Facebook, that no. I do give my Instagram at the end of a course when they go in. No, not while they're a student. I don't want that degree of, I mean, I don't share much personal stuff on my Instagram account anyway, but even so, what we share says something about us. Um, and so we have a WhatsApp group. And of course, because we have a WhatsApp group, that means they can actually get my number and send
Yeah.
me individual messages if they need something. I think that helps. Something you just said made me think, oh yeah, I know what else I do. Um, Early on in the course, just discussion and really notice what your students enjoy and what their strengths are, and then give them specific things to do, like teach. Like,
Mm.
um, okay, so I do like a lecture on film, and they make a film as one of the projects, and I'm always looking for which of the students is the one that can actually give a chunk of that lecture.
Yeah.
And so they come out. And actually, the original slides were written by Amy, if you have to watch this. And I use her slides. I use her text. I've changed the actual slides a little bit, but the text is the exact stuff that she
Mm.
wrote. So it's empowering students. Um, the student who's good at photography or is good at editing stuff, get them like make it like our slug in love. I'm pointing at it because it's the Slug in Love book, which if you have not seen any of the videos where I read it, it's this one. Um, there was a student who said, I need something to do. So I said, okay, well, can you put together, you're good at photography. Are you good at editing photos? What can you put together our class Slug in Love book? Oh, um, find what they're good at and make them feel special so that
Mhm.
at the end of the course you've got this is what so-and-so's made and this is what so-and-so did and this person directed that and just make sure that everybody's got something they can be proud of as well. And that's also things like artwork, keep it, um, texts, keep the good stuff put all together, put it in have a book at the end of the year,
Mhm. Mhm.
put poems, get them writing poems and get a student to compile and choose the font, that kind of stuff. Um, I think the safe classroom is about not feeling threatened, feeling that you belong to the group, but that you belong in the language as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
That whatever you want to express is being heard, that any difficulties you're having are being seen, and that you're appreciated for who you actually are as well.
Oh, I like that.
Um, and also, if you're not such a nice person, that your teacher will have time for you as well.
Mhm.
We do have those students that make us go sometimes,
Or have
oh,
that effect on the other students as
yeah,
well.
well, this is it. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to name names, but I have had students that have had a disruptive influence on the class, not necessarily through being actively disruptive, but being, I don't know, judgmental, for example. And so taking time out with that person and sitting down and saying, so, how's your life? How's it? Now,
Yeah.
have you considered, but doing it nicely instead of kind of pulling in there?
Yeah, finding out why these
Mm.
behaviors are
Well, this
happening
is
if you
it. It often
can.
comes from uh, what they've received in their life. And therefore, if you kind of shine the torch back at them and say, well, yeah, actually, you're doing it too.
Mhm.
But not just go piling in with that. Just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
finding time for everybody, I think, is important. Not having favorites or not having the opposite of favorites.
Yeah. I always teach my teenagers the phrase, my teacher's got it in for me.
All right, yeah.
Because, it was a typical one in Spanish. Me tiene manía. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
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 the
yeah,
teacher's
yeah,
got
yeah.
it in for you.
Exactly. Yeah. No, well, this is it. You can't do that. And also I find I don't know, sometimes there's one student who's a bit lazier. I'm going to say that. I'm not thinking of anybody, but like a bit lazier than the rest, or a bit, then again, that's likely to come from something. So if you see that the whole group is beginning to go, oh God, it's so and so again,
Hmm.
you make time for that person as well. And you treat him a bit like a hero, not a hero, but you make it clear to the rest of the group that that person is as special as they are.
Hmm. Hmm.
You don't join in on that, yeah, 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 kind of thing. Or if you do join in on it, bring that person in on it as well, if you see what I mean. So nobody is the butt of the joke. They
Yeah.
are part of the thing. It's a lot of juggling. I think I come back to this time and again. I think my job is about energy management. I think it's people management as much as inputting something,
Mm.
particularly nowadays, because nowadays people can get the input from all kinds of places.
Yep. Yep. They want that safe, happy, welcoming environment.
But this is it, you've got to
Um,
feel safe. You've got to, even from the brain's point of view. Well, we've got the oxytocin thing, which I've mentioned before. There's a video about hormones, I think it is called. So go watch that. The oxytocin about being close to people and trust. Trust is being shown to be part
Mhm.
of what helps us learn. And also just the whole anxiety thing. Our brain has positive and negative, obviously. And you need to fire, so two amygdala, they need to both be firing to learn effectively. Things like anxiety it's in the classroom anyway because
Mhm.
they're speaking in a foreign language. So you've got to bring down any other kind of anxiety, or you just get overload of anxiety, and the brain is essentially out of balance. So
Mhm.
we've got this balancing act to do of saying, okay, I know I'm going to ask you to say, but let's make
But we're
it
gonna
fun
laugh
rather.
while we're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've just realized because we're just about out of time, but I just realized, like, having said safe, I completely put you on the spot with this. That's what these coffee breaks are. So yes,
But
so
it was a Sudoku. It was a four-star Sudoku. Not without my challenge. I am going to say one more thing on this, though. Um, with the way I've been talking about it, it sounds like I'm talking about teenagers, but actually, the last group I taught, the youngest person in the room was 46, I
Mhm,
think, and the oldest was 67 or so.
mhm,
And there was one gent in the group who didn't speak. He just didn't speak, right? And then the last couple of days, no, it was only a week as well. The last couple of days he spoke in English. And on the final day, in the final presentation, their professor, because they were like from an online, like you can do a course online and they actually meet in the
mhm,
UK, but they were from Japan, Thailand, wherever. And their professor came into the room and he was observing these presentations. And then in the evening, gave a speech. And then he said, at the end, the very end of his speech, he said, and I should say that congratulations to Fiona because she's managed to get to speak English for the first time ever that I've seen her speak English. And everybody in the room was like, yay! And this student was like, and again, that's a safe thing. That's like everybody celebrating
mm,
everybody else's success. This
yeah,
guy has obviously felt super challenged because he was one of I don't know, the upper half of that. I don't know how old he is, but let's say he's in the 57 to
mhm,
67. He's obviously felt it's an online course. He's probably been sitting in his house doing his course in a Zoom room like this or something. Then in situ with a sort of supportive environment and me kind of just having time for making space and encouraging and showing him how he can use little note cards to give himself a chuleta in Spanish, kind of a
the
crib
cheat sheet.
sheet
Yeah.
and then how to pronounce and sentence stress. And we were doing all this. What can I get you? What can I get you? Stuff that I've mentioned before. And just giving him that foundation and then celebrating each little success during the week.
Hmm.
By the end of the week, he felt that he could speak in English with a crib sheet, but he
Yeah.
spoke for a minute or two. And and everybody was cheering for him in this tea ceremony we had at the end. And that is, it works. It works. I tell you, it works. It doesn't matter what age.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous. Well, thank you very much, Fiona. I loved hearing all your tips for creating a safe, rich learning environment, and I will see you again next week.
When next week it'll be your turn to do all the talking.